Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to RobMotive. Let's do a quick update on the Tacoma. There's a lot of vicious, untrue rumors and things people are trying to post out there about how bad this truck is, that you should go back to the third gen, or maybe you shouldn't have even bought one to begin with. So let's talk about it. First of all, recalls. There are two, maybe even one, we'll call it one and a half that I'm aware of. One is the brake line, if you have the 8 or 17-inch wheels, I should say. Apparently, the line protrudes into the wheel hub or the wheel itself, and if anything builds up within that wheel, it can fracture that line, cut the line, or cause you to lose brakes in the rear. That is a valid recall. As of the posting of this video, there is no solution that I'm aware of. And I'll be curious to see myself because I have a truck that's affected by that. It came originally with 17-inch wheels. I changed them out for 18-inch wheels. Does that mean that they're not going to want to do this recall on my truck? Or my guess is they'll probably do it anyway since the OEM equipment that came on the truck was 17-inch. The second one is something to do with the cameras or the sensors. I think it may only involve towing. Apparently, it's a reprogram. Be aware that if you go in to have this done, you're going to spend probably 3 to 4 hours at the dealership. And it's too bad. It's not really like a patch like other vehicles do. Apparently, it's a complete reflash. So, in essence, they remove whatever programming is in the truck and they replace it with new programming that fixes the problem. You think there'd be a quicker, better way, but whatever. Those are the only two that I'm aware of. There is, I think, a TSB out there. I know I had a TSB rather, about the weight sticker in the door sill, that it was wrong and they would send me one to replace it. I think that was on my 2024. Not a big deal. I've changed things on the truck anyway, so it wouldn't be accurate no matter what. So how is the truck doing? First of all, fuel economy. I see a lot of people out there reporting tremendous fuel economy, mid-20s, even low 30s. I don't know how they're doing it. Even if they're driving the hybrids, I don't know how they're doing it. If you look at my truck right now, right in there, you can see I'm at 16.2 miles per gallon. Nowhere near being in the 30s, of course. And I don't think I drive like some kind of madman. I mean, I'm not constantly on the gas pedal. I'm not trying to win drag races from the stoplight. It's just what I have. Now, I'll put a little caveat when it comes to fuel economy. Of course, it depends on how you drive and where you drive. Most of my driving is city type stuff, 35 to maybe 45 miles an hour. So I'm not going to get as good of fuel economy, I guess, as those who are driving on the freeways. So it may not be completely accurate. And one other thing I want to mention about fuel economy, the first thing that you should do after you get the truck and you leave the dealership is reset the meter in your truck. Because if your experience is like most of us, I think, you sit at the dealership, kind of like what I'm doing right now, with the truck idling, burning gas. That's going to reduce your true fuel economy. Didn't seem to matter much for me. I just dropped to 16.1 as I sit here burning gas. It's 90 degrees out here, humid and hot. So yeah, I've got the truck running. The gauge cluster system. This has got to be one of the most frustrating things about the new Toyota Tacoma. On mine, as you could see a second ago, I have the fuel economy and stuff over there. And then to the right, the holy mecca, it appears, the tire pressure readings. I'm a stickler about that. I always check that because the last thing I want to do is drive somewhere and then have a flat tire because I have a nail or something. And I did have that happen in my other truck. In the 2024, I looked at the gauge cluster and it had dropped from 36, 37 down to 33, 34, and there was no reason for it, and it was only one tire. I had a nail. So I'm glad that I checked this and didn't end up somewhere, come out, my tire's flat, and now I'm stranded. What a bummer. But the big holy grail part of this is it doesn't seem, at least in the pre-2025 fourth generation Tacomas, to hold that setting or that gauge display in the cluster. Again, there's mine. You can see it's still there, and it's there every time I start the truck. How did I do it? I have no idea. I just went in and I picked this setup when I got the truck, and it has stayed ever since I got the truck. I did not have that experience in my 2024. It would always revert to something else. It's like there was a standard gauge cluster setting, and it would always go back. I'm sure that's not the case, but trying to figure out how to get it to stay in the 2024s, I really have absolutely no idea. Another thing I want to talk about is the trim work inside the truck. And this is true. Everything's a little loosey-goosey. Look at this. Look at this gap. You can see this kind of move and separate. Over here on the handle, it kind of moves. If you can see my phone holder, one of them that I have, it kind of moves around a bit. The cover over here, or door for the glove box, it moves a little bit. Although I will say, when it comes to the glove box, Toyota did seem to fix that. They seem to put, I guess, stronger or firmer springs in there so that it doesn't bounce around like it did in my 2024. I would actually get noise from that door kind of bouncing if I was on a really rough road. Does not happen anymore. So apparently Toyota listened and actually did something about it. Now, another thing is the lack of grab handles. We don't have one over here, and there is no direct replacement that I'm aware of that you can get for this. In the third gens, and I'm not sure if they're still around, there was a company that was making these, but they had all kinds of quality problems. Nothing for the fourth gen yet. There may be down the road. There may be too much liability. I don't know, although I don't know why. The big argument against these, I guess, is that there was an accident at some point and the driver hit their head on that grab handle and caused problems, and that's why Toyota doesn't do it anymore. I don't know if that's necessarily true. When you look at the passenger side over there, we just don't care about the passenger, I guess. Then they can hit their head and it's no big deal. So I really don't buy that's true. No issues with that as far as I'm concerned. Lastly, we have to mention the manual seat, because it's another one of those little annoying pet peeve things, at least of mine, and I hear other people complain about it. And that is that the seat magically lowers by itself. It doesn't. When you get in and out of the truck, you slide your rear end across the lever, pushing it down, activating the lowering mechanism, and you're doing it yourself. I do think it's a flaw that Toyota has. I think they put that lever too close to where your rear end slides in and out of the seat, and it really needs to be lowered so that this doesn't happen anymore. I'll give you one more. The paint job on the truck, I would call it subpar. I checked on my hood because I had heard there was an issue with paint droplets that had, I guess, dried in the corners of the hood and then started to flake off maybe a little bit. I have that on my truck. It is a problem Toyota has. Anyway, just a quick update of some of the most popular things that I hear about the new truck. Leave a comment, let me know. Any real things that you've had or experienced with yours that are a problem? I'd just be curious to know. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there.